Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ Review, number 311. I am the moderator, Virtue, being joined by this week's elite panel of the review, Aaron Rift, as always, Gino, who is now a regular. Maybe I should call Gino Mr. Reliable. I don't know, but monikers change. All right, JJ's back, and Jeff Meacham is in the house, so we got a great panel. What's going on, everybody? Jeff, what's going on with you?
Beautiful Tuesday here. Virtue just spent 16 hours at Disneyland yesterday, so I am wired and ready for the NoDQ review. Let's do it, brother.
And we are here. I almost missed my first episode tonight, but I handled everything that needed handled, and here I am. JJ, what's up?
Not a whole lot, Virtue. Good to be here. Thank you for having me back once again. Looking forward to discussing whatever you've got on deck for us.
It'll be a ride like it always is. Gino, nice shirt. Dedicated,
yeah.
Right there. You trolling me?
Yeah, when we talk AEW, I like to just throw it on, right? You know, just to bring the topic in. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you guys setting all this up, and appreciate being here.
And you know why it's okay that you wear that, and if you do like AEW, because you don't come across as a gatekeeper. You're not a troll. You're not this is the best wrestling product. And if you have any criticisms, you're out of touch. So, I like that. So stay tuned. You know how this works. Aaron, what's going on? I see Colin already made a super chat.
Yes. So it's crazy. We're already at 311 episodes of NoDQ Review. For everyone that's been down with the NoDQ Review, I thank you very much for your love and support. The positivity is just incredible. So thank you guys for that. And the Cleaver Colin Andrew has been part of that positivity. He does the solo emoji. I love you, NoDQ, with the ones. We love you, Colin. Always great to have you on. And even when you're not on, it's always a pleasure to have you in the chat room. So we got Survivor Series coming up. We have some interesting scenarios leading up to the pay-per-view. I'm looking forward to that discussion. And on that note, Virtue, let's go ahead and get this show going.
All right, we got a few topics. The first one kind of overlaps a little bit with AEW. Second topic is about AEW. But first, let's talk about, has CM Punk had a better 2024 in WWE? Now, we're talking about being in the Royal Rumble, getting hurt, missing most of the year, but still coming back in time to having a trilogy with Drew McIntyre. Now he's on hiatus again. Can we classify this as a better year than any of his years, in particular in AEW when he had his run? I just want to see if anyone can make a case that, hey, even in a limited capacity, there's been no drama. The Drew feud was so good that this outshines any of his years in AEW. Because remember that first year, Punk and AEW, they were pretty hot. So this is going to be interesting, but I want to get people's opinions. And, of course, the NoDQ Galaxies in the chat. Jeff Meacham, I will start with you on this one.
Yeah, it's one of those. I was one of the first to criticize Punk's exit from AEW and the way it went down. And I apologize for it because I was not fully informed. But when you look at it, when he came back, he had beef with people within WWE, Rollins, McIntyre, and them. But he's working in a place with grown adults now. So he was able to not only squash those beefs, but make them useful in getting business done. So I would say, yes, his 2024, even in limited capacity, has been better than his AEW run. You figure he had, we'll say, the first year of whatever it was, the 2 years he was there, was solid, but he also spent a lot of that time hurt as well, and it seemed lesser than when he was there. The fact that he came in and didn't even need to be the WWE champion. He's still a main event player as CM Punk, the wayward son coming home again. Sorry, I didn't mean to use a cancer reference, but it works. So yeah, definitely think so.
All right, now JJ, like imagine if he didn't get hurt in the Rumble and he would have had like a whole year in a WrestleMania and all that activity. I think without question we would be saying this year was better than all those AEW years combined. But even so, we're still putting it right there neck and neck with that first year. At least I am. It sounds like that's what Jeff's doing with that first year in AEW. And that just blows my mind. You get CM Punk off of a 7-year hiatus, and we still are saying this injury-riddled year, with his return to WWE, could still be better than any of those in AEW. I don't know. What do you think?
I was just kind of wading into the waters of AEW when CM Punk made his return to professional wrestling. I had kept myself distance from AEW during its glory years, if it will, because of my living situation at the time. I feel like that first year, like you're saying, like Jeff is saying, was pretty solid. You know, the Hangman feud, you know, the feud with MJF. That was some good television. That was some good work. But it's like you guys are saying, it's kind of neck and neck there. And if Punk had had a WrestleMania match this year, no question would have been a better year. But because he ended up missing in-ring action at Mania, I think that's the only thing that really kind of puts it on an even playing field for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. And like I said, just the fact that we're having this discussion, because, I mean, remember when he debuted on Rampage and that whole everything happened in Chicago, it was like in AEW ratings are slowly going up. I think they were still hitting 1 million or more quite often.
Yeah.
And I just like, if you ask me back then, hey, by the way, this isn't going to work out, and he's going to end up back here, get hurt again in WWE, but still have a great feud against Drew, I would have been like, what? No way. And here we are having this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember that with Punk in the company, they drew their first $1 million house.
That's true.
So that was a huge boost for them at the time. And while still, you know, a distant second at that point, really kind of made them a serious contender because they were gaining that momentum on the back of CM Punk. And then the drama ensued.
Yeah. And remember, they beat NXT pretty heftily the first time. Now we're going to be talking about that a little bit.
To be fair, that was pre-Punk, though.
Yeah, well, but like that was still, I mean, what was NXT on USA Network back then when they and were they head to head or was it different nights? I can't remember.
I think they were on Wednesdays. I think it was head to head because didn't NXT start off as like a Peacock exclusive or an internet exclusive thing, and
right.
then it got the USA deal on Wednesday nights, the Wednesday Night War, and then because they got trounced so heavily, it got moved to Tuesday night, and the 2.0 Rainbow Bright thing came to be, blah blah blah,
and they
the
kept trudging along.
Kind of when I got into NXT, so. Again, I missed those glory days.
I don't want to take away from Punk here, and we will be talking about AEW's current situation with attendance and ratings in our next topic. And stay tuned, by the way. We are going to be talking about Paul Heyman, Rock, Bloodline, all that stuff in our main event.
But to your point, I think by the time Punk debuted, NXT was already on Tuesdays.
Yeah, okay. Jeff, did you raise your hand, or was that just stretching? All right.
He was acknowledging.
Gino.
Yes, thank you. So, kind of like JJ, right? I just kind of getting back into AEW at the time when Punk debuted, and it was a big deal. It was the biggest deal, right? That I'm trying to look back and just to double check, right? Because the fact that we're even able to have this conversation, I wanted to make sure I really knew what was going on and really crossed my T's and dotted my I's. So he beat MJF, Hangman Page, Moxley, Darby Allin, and Samoa Joe, and won, however you want to look at it, 1.5, 2 world champions, however you want to look at that, in the year 2022. And he comes to WWE. He was set up on a feud with Seth that still has gone nowhere because he got hurt by Drew, and they kind of used that, and Drew kind of carried that feud. He went on to, though, have a match of the year contender with the Hell in a Cell match, a male feud of the year contender, though I feel like Drew carried that. As far as, you know, he would probably argue that it was not as good as his heavyweight championship run with AEW strictly because like even when he should be main eventing, he's not. And like it feels like for the 7 years he was gone from WWE. He was talking about I wanted to main event WrestleMania, main event. All the times that he was the champion for what I was at 434 days, and they wouldn't put him in the main event spot. He wouldn't go on last. So I would argue that if an argument could even be made that his year where he was winning championships with AEW, putting them over as far as a company doing their best numbers, I think if we asked him, I think he might say he's still more proud of that than what he's done this year. Injury and really only the half a feud, one feud type of thing. So that's kind of what I would say. I'm still happy to see him in WWE. The CM Punk chants and random segments are now gone, which makes me happy. So him coming back to WWE, it kind of feels like the wrestling world can move forward. So I do like him in WWE. Having said
all right,
that,
no, a good case for having one strong AEW year there without drama. That's a good case. Aaron.
It's a tough one. I would say it's a tie between 2021 when he returned and then 2024 this year. 2021 when he came back, that was massive. As we all know, if you followed the NoDQ website and the YouTube channel over the years, CM Punk has been a big deal for the website. When he came back in 2021, that was absolutely massive for the site. CM Punk brought some buzz to AEW. He came back to WWE in 2023, which was also a big deal. He got hurt at the beginning of the year, but he had a memorable feud with Drew McIntyre, and he still managed to have a presence even while he was injured. It's a tough call for me. I would probably go with the AEW start 2021 just because of the initial impact that it made. But 2025, if he stays healthy, could be his biggest year to date. If they can actually get to the CM Punk and Seth Rollins WrestleMania match, 2025 could be one of his biggest years in his career. I'm looking forward to where it goes from here. But yeah, it's a tough one. He's not really had the best year in any of the years just because of the fact that he came in late in 2021. He wasn't injured or anything, but he did come in like in August. And then every other year he got hurt or there was drama. Jeff, anything you wanted to add to that?
I just wanted to point out the irony. You talk about Punk being good for the website. I remember when JJ and I were in Vegas in 2011, NoDQ crashed.
Yep.
2021, I was on my way on the road to SummerSlam in Vegas when Punk made his big return on Rampage. So Punk in Vegas are definitely good for NoDQ. Just don't gamble up there.
Very well. Are we ready to move on?
Let's do it.
Now, I swear I did not plan this. When obviously the thumbnail has The Rock on it, and we're going to be talking a little bit about some ideas revolving around him. But when I worded this topic, and it says, has AEW hit rock bottom? I did not plan that. Okay, when I say hit rock bottom, we know they got the TV deal, so they're good and they're established there. But look at live attendance in the United States. They got a stadium show coming up in Texas next year. Look at their ratings, TV ratings. I mean, there should be some concern. Okay, they got the deal, and Tony Khan's got infinite funds, but seriously, anybody who's denying that there shouldn't be concerns of things that maybe need to get corrected, they're delusional. And I want to hear everybody's thoughts on this. What could possibly help turn things around? I'm not suggesting hiring an old hand to write your TV like Russo or Cornette or anything like that. All right. But Tony Khan needs to get the right help. I'm sorry, not people like Will Washington, not wrestling fans, people that know TV, that know writing. Like WWE has a bunch of writers, and it seems to be working. It might not be always great, but WWE's hot, right? Their superstars are presented in such a way, one or two catch fire or are very interesting, and then when they cool off, a couple more. Like, that's pretty simple. Tony Khan is not doing that. He's doing it 100% himself, maybe letting a few people in that little inner bubble of his, like a Will Washington, and it ain't working. The numbers say that it's not. What's everybody's thoughts here? Gino, I'm going to start with you since you're wearing the AEW shirt. Constructive criticism is what I hear these people like Bischoff say, I don't hear Cornette say that, but Russo, Bischoff, people like that, of course, they did it in the Attitude Era with the highest numbers. You kind of think that they know how to do it maybe a little too well. But still, though, I see fans even saying similar things. It's observation. There are times where we're like, what did we just watch? Go ahead, Gino.
Awesome. So I'm going to start with what I was going to end with, because you kind of just helped me segue into that. Talking about Bischoff, talking about Russo. One of the things that I had considered is that maybe after football's done, that they just go head to head with Raw and move Dynamite or Rampage. Something like that. So moving it some, it doesn't have to go head to head because they're already kind of going head to head with SmackDown a little bit. So maybe moving one of those shows onto a better night for watching television, right? Those Mondays are usually just where all the, television premieres and stuff end up happening. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know if that would be good for them in the long run. That was kind of just like my dark horse type of like, when all else fails, because like you said, we're talking about rock bottom. Now, rock bottom in like a person's life doesn't mean that they're dead. It just means that they have nowhere to go but up, right? You have to turn around. Now, rock bottom for a business or a television show definitely means that it doesn't have to necessarily go anywhere. It doesn't have to go up. It can still keep. I mean, I guess it could close. It could go out of business. Not with the money that they have funding into it, but you need your business to bring in money to justify existing. Right now, I know they got the deal with Max and HBO. I just hate calling it Max. So HBO Max, it'll be on there. A lot of the show feels like it can be missed. I don't feel like I have to watch it as soon as it starts or that evening. Like I can wait, or maybe I'll just catch the interesting clips on YouTube, but their YouTube channel doesn't really do the best like headlines. It doesn't really, the description stuff, they don't really do a good job marketing their own video when they're putting it out there. So it's like, I have to decide if I'm picking and choosing, do I want to watch this based on what they're saying? So all in all, what they need to do differently is they need to get, like you said, the fans and the wrestlers need to have their control taken away from them. WWE has TV writers, producers that are former wrestlers, people that can work with the talent to help them put on the best match, but it's written by people. I mean, I remember seeing the advertisement a few years back, if they were looking for WWE writers, you need 10 years of episodic television writing experience to be a writer for WWE. I get the feeling that the standards for AEW, they should be just as high. Like, why not? You have the money. There's no need to go short. Oh, you only have a year experience. Oh, you're a booker in a small territory. The Young Bucks, and it basically comes down to, when I think about what's wrong with the AEW product, it's that the wrestlers have too much control in areas that they shouldn't. They can help produce the match, but they shouldn't be deciding who's winning. They shouldn't be cliquey type of, these are my guys, these aren't my guys. So that's how I would say that. And maybe
that's a great point right there. Like, you need to have somebody in place like Jim Ross used to work with, the Pat Pattersons, the Briscoes, the right hand men, the who else did Vince have? Pritchard, Michael Hayes. I'm not saying those guys, but you need to have those guys to keep the locker room in check. Maybe go down to 3,000 or 4,000 seat arenas so it looks fuller and seems more, and then try to, when you grow, then start booking bigger arenas. Have production people, the right production people in place. I know a lot of people grew to dislike Kevin Dunn, but he did it for years, and he was part of the reason WWE grew to be so big, because he was innovative at the time he did a lot of it. Tony Khan needs to have those kind of things, people to tell him to make the show look more presentable, more like the big leagues. There's nothing wrong. It's not like they're going to Orlando in Universal Studios and doing that little 500-seater thing that TNA used to do. You can still draw a few thousand fans, but have a smaller venue arena that holds that many. So you don't have the bare seats. And it's just, it comes down to allowing what, like, basically, this is the time you want to try to do what WWE does. And somebody mentioned a creative team. Absolutely. JJ, what do you think?
I've discussed this ad nauseum with multiple people on live streams. You just need to do a complete overhaul, bottom line. You know, Tony Khan wants to book these dream matches, and that's great. I commend him for wanting to give the fans matches we've never seen before, matches that he thinks going to be a 5, 6, 7-star Dave Meltzer banner. Great. Give me reasons why they're happening, though. Don't make it seem like you put names into a tumbler and before Dynamite, you just turned the tumbler and was like, okay, John Moxley. Okay, Powerhouse Hobbs, you guys are going to go fight tonight. Why? Why?
Yeah, no cold
Give
match.
me a reason. A big thing that I think that they need to do, and this is going to seem like a huge deal, but don't completely get rid of Rampage like I'm seeing some people mention in the chat. I know that's a possibility with the Max deal, but just rebrand it. Turn it into your women's division show. You have got so much great women's talent on the AEW roster, and we see the same 5 women every week on all the shows. I've got nothing against Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, Willow Nightingale, Camille, but what about all the other women that are on the roster? Why do we not get to see these women more featured? You know, Mariah May did the unthinkable at All In and won the championship, dethroning Toni Storm. Nobody has given a damn about her reign since then. It's all been about getting Mina Shirakawa back over here so that the two of them could link back up. She's had useless matches. The whole infrastructure needs to be gutted and redone from the top to the bottom.
And that's fair enough, but it's like I said, you know, it's one thing you go down a little bit. WWE's had plenty of periods, but WWE also found ways to stop the bleeding at some point and get that excitement back, right? And they've done that multiple times. It's almost like they challenge themselves. They get stagnant, right? 1995, boom, Attitude Era. Ruthless Aggression Era, they got good again, stagnant. Like, you know what I mean? It just bounces back and forth. AEW, stagnant. Figure out a way to get excitement again. Aaron, what do you think? And I know some super chats came in, and I just saw Psycho Jet Black's name, and now I'm like wondering how long we're going to be here tonight.
All right, yes, Psycho Jet Black is in the house. How's it going, Psycho Jet Black? The comment here says, JJ, what will be the first wrestling event that you will watch on your 75-inch UHD AI TV? Aaron and others, do you have 75-inch UHD TVs? I do not, because sometimes size is not the only thing that matters. You have to go with the actual performance of the TV that you're using. So, JJ, you want to answer that question?
Whatever the first event airs once it's been set up, that'll be the first one I watch on it.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. So anybody else have anything close to that size?
No, I got a 43 in my living room because that's when I video game on the TV. I don't like bigger than that. And I got a 32 in my bedroom. That's all I need.
I mean, it performs well. That's what's important, right?
Yep. They're 1080.
Right.
4K, one of them.
All right. And Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, seriously, why does Tony Khan care what Dave Meltzer thinks? I mean, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
He's a fanboy.
Oh.
He is a fanboy, and he books for that crowd. Eric Bischoff has said this many times, and it's one thing that I do agree with Bischoff on. Tony Khan, he used to go on the message boards and talk about match ratings and all that stuff, and that's the audience he writes for. The problem is that that audience is a small minority of the overall wrestling fan base, and I think the majority of fans want to see some drama, a soap opera. It's a male soap opera. Now, I do not think AEW should try to copy WWE. That would be a mistake because they'll just be a second-rate WWE. You want to be an alternative, but at the same time, you need to be able to give us what professional wrestling ultimately is and make it a soap opera. We all know it's staged, it's fiction. If you're going to make fiction, you got to make the best fiction possible. And I think there's a lot of changes that they can make. As mentioned, I think one of the key changes that they need to make is having some different people in charge of creative. There's one area where I think AEW is on a roll, and they have been, and that's the pay-per-views. The pay-per-views are consistently great. So I would say keep doing what you're doing with that. Let Tony Khan book the pay-per-views, put those matches together. But as far as the weekly television shows go, definitely needs a major overhaul as far as the writing goes. We need a more compelling show, and that includes week-to-week storylines that keep you invested, cliffhangers. We're going to talk about the Paul Heyman segment. That was a great cliffhanger. When do we ever really see cliffhangers on an AEW show where we're like, oh my God, I have to tune in next week to see the follow-up? The last thing they did that was even remotely a cliffhanger, I thought, was when they took out Tony Khan with the TK driver, when the Young Bucks put him out. But then they never really went anywhere with that. Tony Khan wore the neck brace. They could have set up something where Tony Khan didn't even have to be a television authority figure anymore. They could have had a wrestler come in, not Christopher Daniels, but somebody else they could have brought in to be an actual authority figure. And, then they could have done that whole, maybe the hostile takeover storyline. They could have done that. They didn't follow up on it. And now they're doing another hostile takeover storyline with Jon Moxley, but nobody cares about it. He's fighting Orange Cassidy in the main event of Full Gear. And to me, that's not a pay-per-view main event. So yeah, they need to work on the writing. And I think there's a lot of other areas I'll get to in a second. JJ, go ahead.
I just wanted to touch on something you said, and I may piss whatever AEW fans are in the chat room off with this. It's better to be a second-rate WWE today as opposed to a third, fourth-rate WCW 2000, which is what they are.
Yeah, that's a solid point. And so Matthew brought this up in the chat room. The problem with this is they don't know how to market their talent as superstars. They just come off as wrestlers. We talked about this on social media with Daniel Garcia. I put something up on Twitter. Jeff, you want to add to that?
I'll take my turn now since you brought the term superstar. Let's talk about Darby Allin for a moment, shall we? Okay.
All right.
So Darby wants to go on and talk about that wrestling's not the most important thing in his life. And that's great, Darby. You're not. It's not. But then you have an interview where you want to be the face of AEW. Those two interviews don't line up with each other. You've got people like that. JJ and James and all of us on the Saturday show have talked about this. Media training for your talent is so key because these people are going on social media, they're doing interviews, and there's no filter on them. That's a key thing. Gino brought up a great point when he was talking about it's not destination television anymore. I have a solid booked outing every single Wednesday night that I'm not home. I turn to my AEW people and I go, is it worth watching the full 2 hours? And if it's not, I don't watch it because I'm not driven to watch that show. I have not watched a single episode of AEW the whole way through since Bryan Danielson won the title in London. Haven't had the inclination to. It's not important to me. I definitely watch Raw and SmackDown and NXT. If I happen to be home at the time that the TNA Plus app is running Impact, I'll watch that. Same with Ring of Honor. Got no one just watching AEW right now. It's just not compelling to me. And the whole speaking of the Superstation thing, they beat up JD Drake. Who the hell cares about JD Drake on a Wednesday night? Like, what? He hasn't been on television in how long? And, we're going to seize the station. You beat up a third-rate jobber, Mox. Congratulations. Like, that'd be like the NWO sending Virgil in. Oh, wait, they did that. Stupid. And one of our favorite phrases was stupid back in the day with Randy Orton. It was so hokey.
Wait, Gino had his hand up. Gino, you want to add something? Then JJ.
Yeah. So, like you were saying, Aaron, and like JJ was saying, like why, and you were like, there's really no cliffhangers, right? And that kind of all ties in together, right? They have these dream matches, or they give us these dream pairings, but it's like, why? Why? Because there's no story behind them. And why can they not have a cliffhanger? Because you need a story line to cliffhang, right?
Yes.
Yes. The only really come tune in next week stuff they do is promoting the matches. That's it. It's like, oh, watch these two guys fight next week. They're in each other's face this week, but watch them fight next week. It's like, that's not how you get. I mean, it might have used to been how you get people to come back next week to see things continue, but it's like everything is just in a vacuum. It's almost like Black Mirror episodes where nothing really even mattered from the episode prior or the next one. I will say this as far as the presentation. It's really hard for me to hear the entrance music. And that's a problem for me because I want to know who's coming. I want to get used to their songs, maybe listen to them at the gym. I need a reason to do that. Jade's music was probably the best music that they had, and then they lost her, and WWE remixed it a little bit. But yeah, they need to turn that volume up. Like, it shouldn't be that. Like, I know you want to maybe hear the crowd too, but like, we gotta hear the music cues. Like, otherwise, what do we like? Where's the pageantry? Where's the presentation?
Constructive criticism. All right, Aaron.
JJ, anything you wanted to add?
Jeff asked who cares about JD Drake on a Wednesday night. Who the hell cares about him on a Friday or a Saturday?
That's what I'm saying. It's
Nobody
like,
cares. There was a comment in the chat room earlier, and I know ratings and the Nielsen ratings and everything aren't what they used to be.
Yeah.
But Tony Khan and the powers that be really need to look at the quarter hours and be like, okay, here's where we did good. Here's who was on. Here's who we've set out, and viewers we lost. We need to not feature them that much anymore. You know, we've got the TBS Championship going to be on Full Gear, and Mercedes Moné drives viewers away in droves.
That's crazy.
Mariah May, the world champion, isn't on the card. She's having a champagne celebration with Mina Shirakawa.
Yeah.
There's the problem right there.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, writing is an issue, and then presentation. I would say the music is not even good, but I agree with what Gino said. They can work on the sound quality. You know, that's part of the production. They got to work on that. It's still a work in progress. And then just the overall marketability of wrestlers, like from the way they dress to the way they act when they're out there, their demeanor. They need to feel important. You know, wrestling is wrestling, but it's a fictional television show, and I'm going to watch the show that has the flashiest wrestlers in the most intriguing storylines. That's what I want to see. You can still have the great wrestling, but you know, the presentation is a big part of it. So they really got to step it up. Like WCW, how did WCW compete with WWE? They had some interesting characters. You had Bill Goldberg, who was this larger than life superstar. You had Diamond Dallas Page. You had Sting. You had all these guys that actually were people that you were in awe of when you saw them, and nobody is like that in AEW. Like, they're just everybody is the little underdog. Like, if WWE was just 20 Spike Dudleys, they would have never gone to where they were. JJ?
You mentioned marketing. They had the Lucha Brothers under contract for how long? Never once did they market a mask.
Nope.
How much money does WWE make yearly off of Rey Mysterio masks?
Oh,
Hurricane masks, Kane masks, Mankind masks.
Another thing, their merchandise is not too great either. Like some of those T-shirts, like they had Britt Baker with the black eye. They put that on. Not everything needs to be a T-shirt. And,
domestic violence. Buy a shirt.
I feel like that was them trying to do their own Becky the Man style when they had her with the shirt with the bloody nose. Oh, we'll just put her with a black eye, and like, oh, you know, it's this was the best shirt I could find at the show, and I'm still not 100% in love with it. So, I'll be
Yeah,
honest
I mean,
with you.
it's more or less the NWO logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just
For real.
everything, all the assets this company has, all the talent they have, all the people they have behind the scenes, and they just keep doing the one key thing that Tony Khan said they would never do is make the same mistakes WCW did. They've made them and they've compounded on them. They've doubled down on them. They're just so bad across the board, and they don't need to be at 5 years in.
And why were people into AEW in the beginning? Because it was different. It was a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
And that's why they need some new people. You can't keep doing the same thing forever. Eventually people are going to get tired of it. They're going to want change. Yes. AEW has to evolve. That's the key. They need to change it up with a new outlook on what direction they're going in. Sure, you're going to have a few 100,000 people that will watch wrestling matches no matter what. You're going to have people that will watch TNA wrestling no matter what. But if AEW wants to grow and be able to become a top level brand for years to come, they got their TV deal. And we say this every week, and we end up talking about this for 20, 30 minutes out of frustration. But yeah, they got a lot of work to do. And I think running smaller buildings for now is definitely a positive, as far as the presentation of the show goes. When you turn on the television and it's a darkened arena and you can hear single fans yelling out when John Moxley's out there and you can hear a fan yelling out, "Go back to Roman," like that just is a terrible.
That's
look.
indie. That screams indie show.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And Aaron, you brought up the TV thing. We talked about this on Saturday about they hadn't had any dates booked into 2025 except the stadium shows. They announced that today. That's not the case now. They're going to have more. They have more shows booked now. But are they going to fill the old Staples Center here in LA with almost 20,000 people for wrestling? I don't think they're going to sell that even for a pay-per-view. These weekend on sales are going to be very indicative of how this discussion will go when it comes up again, because it will come up again.
The pay-per-views draw well, because the pay-per-views are always really good. That is their strongest area, is the pay-per-view events. They haven't killed their pay-per-views yet.
Valid, but Full Gear selling out the Form is different than Revolution selling out the bigger former Staples
right.
Center.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see how they draw for that one. JJ?
Last point, I meant to make this when I gave my first speech, and I swear I'll be done after this. The huge test is going to be All In Texas.
Yeah.
Yep.
That venue has a 40,000 capacity. If they can't get 25,000 people in there, they are done.
Well, that's going to be rough. I think they got to draw at least that many people for it to be profitable and even look good on television. So
yeah.
Well,
that's going to be the big test. Doing stadium shows in Wembley in the UK is one thing. They're craving the fan, the attention, the entertainment. They can't get half of that capacity filled up. There's a serious problem, and it's time Tony Khan admitted it.
And let's think about this. I mean, they have their fans. In our chat tonight, I only see one person, Sergio Coachella, whatever his name is, was the only one that said, whether he's trolling or he's serious, that AEW is better than WWE. I only saw that from one person out of 60 people. That's a small sample size, but does that not kind of prove what's going on?
1 out of 60 is still very, very low percentage. Very low.
I mean, there might be another couple AEW fans in there, but I'm not seeing them putting it over. All right, Aaron, where are we at? Main event time?
Well, we got one more super chat before we move on. Psycho Jet Black sent in $2. Thank you, Psycho. Says, I want to see if Chat GPT can book better than Tony Khan. You know what? It probably could. You probably could use AI and write a better show. At least when you're talking about more than just booking matches, like as far as creating drama, Chat GPT could. I mean, I've actually tried it. I've actually put in prompts on Chat GPT for wrestling, and it does come up with some interesting stuff. So, you need somebody, and you need somebody young. I think Virtue mentioned it. You don't need Vince Russo or Jim Cornette. You need some young people that have their finger on the pulse with pop culture and what's cool. Make your wrestlers relatable. You want to be that wrestler. What wrestler in AEW do you want to be? Do you want to be Daniel Garcia? I mean,
or
none
is
of
it
these wrestlers have the
what
cool
wrestler
factor.
do you not want to be? And then you just name a bunch of them, like all of them.
Yeah.
Orange Cassidy.
Yeah. So I mean, you need creative people that can come up with some interesting drama. Drama is the key. And like we said, beating up JD Drake is not interesting to anybody. Nobody cares. So anyways, we always talk 20 to 30 minutes about AEW, and it's not out of hatred. It's, out of frustration. I think we all want to see them do better.
Yeah.
And know that they have that potential to get better. Look at WWE. Like, how often were we ranting about WWE in 2018, 2019, how rough some of those shows were, and they turned it around. So it's not too late for AEW. It's not like we were all praising WWE in 2018. Like, we definitely had
during
our
that
issues.
time, people were like, "Oh my God, it's going to be years and years of this boring Shield version of Roman Reigns," and then look where we are today.
Right. I mean,
It
they did
evolved.
turn it around.
It did what it needed to do.
You always have to evolve. AEW cannot stay the same forever if they want to build their brand. And
All right.
and
Gino,
stay.
do you have something before we can move on?
Yeah,
Here?
just to answer the Chat GPT comment, like as far as like coming up with dialogue, like human interaction dialogue, Chat GPT is still far away, but honestly, it still might be an improvement in some of the segments at AEW, which says a whole lot.
Yeah. All right, we got one more here from Psycho Jet Black. Says, imagine Twitch streamers and TikTokers booking AEW. Well,
They are. They already are. Tony Khan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, segueing over to the main event, at the end of SmackDown, you have Roman Reigns saying, call the wise man on his phone, only to get a disconnected or this number is no longer in service. The drama now starts unfolding and what's going on here, because we know Heyman's been off TV because the new Bloodline beat him up. And we kind of talked about this before. Let's bring it up again now because Heyman's discussed on WWE TV because of that segment with Roman Reigns to close SmackDown. But what does the future hold with Heyman with these two bloodlines? And you always see The Rock is in the back of our mind. This is the end game. Rock and Cody, and then Rock and Roman when it's all said and done. And Heyman's been very integral with Roman Reigns since the beginning of the bloodline. Let's start discussing these options with Heyman. We know that he teased that turn on Roman with Brock for a little bit, but that obviously was just a ruse. He was always aligned with Roman Reigns, is kind of just get the bloodline like finding another way to win. But this could be very real on utilizing Heyman in an interesting way. So maybe he is healed, but maybe in the end, he does all this heel work, and we think he went back to that old Paul Heyman, and he's one of the cogs at a WrestleMania that helps Reigns defeat Rock or wherever it goes. It could be a swerve later. What are we talking about here? Paul Heyman, is The Rock the mastermind? JJ, I'm going to start with you on this one.
I think The Rock is going to be the mastermind at the end of the day about the new bloodline. I just think it makes sense. You've got the fact that all the way back in 2015, Rock tried to endorse Roman Reigns and the crowd shit on it. The first time in a long time, the fans crapped on The Rock. And I don't think The Rock's forgotten about that. And here we are now going on 10 years later. And The Rock, I think, is going to be out for his revenge. It was all a decoy when he joined the bloodline. It was all just a little bit of misdirection. Paul Heyman not answering his phone, I think it goes back to Solo breaking the phone. But at the end of the day, it's like, why wouldn't Paul Heyman have another phone? Dude's been carrying cell phones since the Zach Morris models. Like, seriously. It's always been a part of his gimmick. Like, you don't think that he's going to go out the next day after that phone's been destroyed and get another cell phone with the same number? Like, this is Paul Heyman.
Now,
but
what is this stuff, JJ, that I see? Like, I don't know if it's fans trolling. Was there some weird thing that fans captured of Sami Zayn dumping a cell phone onto the couch? Again, that's really cryptic if that is going to be anything. But was that Roman's phone? And he went in there, so got in there, even with security on phone today, to change Heyman's number, because Roman doesn't look at numbers. None of us do. We just rely on speed dial or voice recognition. And could Sammy be on the way? I mean, that's what I like, whether it is something or not. And that was just him taking his real phone out of his pocket, and some fan caught it. Great work, because get those in my mind to make me think something could happen. That's all I want.
Yeah, people turned that into a GIF. I didn't see SmackDown, but I saw that GIF circulating on social media.
Yeah.
Like as soon as Solo came on the screen, took the phone out and chucked it. Like, kind of interesting there in the timing, planting those seeds. You know, is Sammy going to be the one to turn heel? Is it just a red herring move? Yeah, I think we discussed this last week with Sammy and possibly going heel, but
and then this happens, and was it a coincidence? Was it just him like, oh, why do I have my phone in my pocket? Damn it! Like, but why would he in mid-scene take it out and throw it on the couch? Like, they're WWE's. We're just talking about how good produced they are. I'm sure they pre-taped those backstage segments. Like, there might be some merit to that.
Absolutely. You know, this is the stuff that's lacking in the last topic we were just discussing. Like, seriously,
even if it was like,
look at how much we're already. Everyone is chatting about Sami Zayn tossing his phone. AEW wishes they could have a moment like that people are all talking about. That's a throwaway thing.
Yeah.
But is it really?
Right.
It could be like GTV. Nothing.
Yeah.
You know? All right. Anything else, JJ?
Not yet. We'll see.
Okay. Jeff.
Yeah, you guys hit it right on the head. I think the Sammy phone thing was not by accident. It was not by happenstance, because as you said, they pre-tape these segments. So if it was a miss, or if it was just Sammy tossed his phone out of his pocket so it wouldn't get messed up in the fight, because there was a big throwdown there between the bloodlines there after that video was shown. I think Sammy's gonna be the one that gets revealed as not necessarily the mastermind, but he's definitely gonna be the fly in the ointment. Because as fun as it's been for us to see Sammy and Kevin, you know, be the underdogs and beat the Usos at WrestleMania last year, and in front of, you know, I got to see it live. It was a wonderful moment. I think Sammy, I always liked Sammy better in WWE anyway, when he was that sneaky, you know, cowardly heel, but that thinking heel also. So I'm looking forward to it. I think Paul's number being disconnected is going to be just, as you said, Sammy or Solo or somebody reprogramming the phone. Because you're right, Virtue. None of us actually look at phone numbers anymore. Yep. I barely remember my own phone number half the damn time. I only know it was so because I've had to fill it out on my son's school applications and whatnot. But I think this is going to be very intriguing. We've got, as of now, 2 more weekends, and then we've got Survivor Series. So I think War Games is really going to be the next jumping off point for the Bloodline. There was a topic on NoDQ and the opinions of the column section this week about, has the Bloodline storyline, you know, kind of stagnated after WrestleMania? And it seemed like it was for a while, but then Roman Reigns came back and we are just back to the races again. I am looking forward to the rest of this year, and especially Q1 2025. Man, we're going to see some really good shit on WWE television.
Yep. Yeah. And again, I did not plan that AEW topic leading into this one. It just happened. I wanted to make sure we covered both sides equally. Gino, over to you now.
All right, guys, you brought up a lot of great points. So I wanted to touch on some of those for sure. Like you guys were talking about the behind the scenes stuff with Sami Zayn and stuff. And earlier in the previous segment, we were talking about how WWE will change things to make, when things are not going, they'll make changes, they'll make improvements. And so over the last year or so, we've got Finn Balor taking key cards. We've got Liv and Dom walking in the background. We've got other people walking in the background. They're going from backstage segment to backstage segment on a single cam, hard cam. Like, they're doing things like that, and it's driving up the interest, and it's making it's the production value. It's great. Now, there are 2 ways to kind of look at the phone disconnected. One, his phone's destroyed, whatever, that's the easy way out. But like you said, he's going to go get another phone. Your phone company's going to have you have the same phone number. Like everybody, like even children know that because children have phones now and they know when they break their phone, whomever gets them a new one, it's going to have the same phone number. They don't have to change all that. So I'm less inclined to believe that as opposed to he had his phone destroyed and then changed his number and got a new phone because he couldn't transfer over his data from the destroyed one. So he lost all of his contact information and he changed his number because he's hiding from Solo and that bloodline because they have had his number. And he was their wise man for a little bit. So I'm more inclined to believe that he's doing this intentionally, trying to stay out of it, trying to not get hurt. Obviously breaking kayfabe. We know he's backstage helping with production and all that stuff. So that makes it difficult. But as far as that, I feel like he's hiding from the new bloodline. And there's this kind of part of me that we kind of saw it a little bit as he's grown out the grays and he's not shaving and stuff. But if we got like a Paul Heyman comes back, because we all want him to be with the original bloodline. We all kind of know it's leading to that. Like everything that we've wanted out of this storyline, or at least thought we wanted out of the storyline we've been getting, the reuniting of the Usos, they're all back together. Then Sammy Uso comes back in. Like it's predictable, but not in a bad way. But if they brought Heyman back and he was like a brainwashed, almost pseudo hypnotized version of himself, like offering wise man advice to the new bloodline, I think that would be pretty cool. But at the end of the day, face Heyman versus Final Boss Rock on the mic is an absolute must-have, just like The Rock versus Roman for the title at Mania is absolute. If they let it go another year, like that's it. No, you can't do that. They almost lost a lot with the Cody thing, delaying that a whole year, and then delaying it. They were going to delay it to who even knows when the whole Royal Rumble and The Rock came back stuff. So when you have the opportunity to give the people what they want, it's going to be compelling television. It's going to drive ratings. I mean, you have to do it. You have to give the people some good guy Paul Heyman for the first time against Final Boss Rock and let the magic happen. This is when wrestling is at its best.
Well said, Gino. Okay, Aaron, over to you and some super chats as well.
I agree with what Gino said. I think that there is money in The Rock and Paul Heyman back and forth on the mic leading up to a WrestleMania match, which is why I think the best course of action is for Paul Heyman to be a babyface with the original bloodline. Look, nobody's going to boo Paul Heyman at this point. So maybe it is a swerve. Maybe he does end up with The Rock. Now, I think the speculation has been fueled because of the fact that Paul Heyman had two phones around WrestleMania. He had one phone for Roman Reigns, and then he had another phone for The Rock. And people are reading into that. Maybe he's disconnected from Roman Reigns, but he's still connected to The Rock. But the fact that they even put that out there on SmackDown, I loved it. I thought that was more effective in selling me on Survivor Series than anything else they've done up to this point. Like that got me intrigued because we're all wondering, when's Paul Heyman coming back? What's he going to do? And now I'm hooked to this. I'm very intrigued as to where this is going. And I'm along for the ride. I don't know if he's going to end up with The Rock. I don't know if he's going to end up with Roman Reigns. But regardless, they got me invested in it. And that's how you sell. That is wrestling at its best. When you're on the edge of your seat and you're ready for the next show, when you want to see where it goes. And other promotions can learn from that. You don't have to copy, but the storytelling is getting people to watch week to week and keep them guessing, but also have it make sense and have motivations for the reasons why they're doing things instead of guys going out there and just cutting long-winded promos and just rambling about stuff and you don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Like you got to have some compelling, coherent storytelling in order to make people care about the matches. At least most people. You're always going to have your minority.
And if Heyman comes back and is aligned with the bad bloodline and Rock, and then we, somehow we can get the whole Cody and Rock thing over with, and we get Rock and Roman at WrestleMania, and that plays out Bloodline rules. So we're going to see people come out like last year. And then like the final little thing is Heyman, who we think has been aligned with The Rock, tosses something to Roman so he can do what he needs to do to take down The Rock and the final boss. That's a story people would really love to see. Like they all came back together in the end. Again, not that that would happen, but a possibility of that, or you can list 5 or 6 other endings. Isn't that what we want as wrestling fans? Different things. It could go this way, it could go, and you're watching because it's going to happen one of the ways, but you're not quite sure how.
Right. That is effective storytelling. Mr. Tito sent in a $5 super chat, says, Paul Heyman got attacked during late June. Roman did nothing to respond for over a month at SummerSlam. Took until now for Roman to call him. Something is up. I mean, Mr. Tito brings up some good points, and yeah, that's definitely something to consider. You know, whose side is Paul Heyman on? It's very intriguing. Anything you wanted to add, Gino?
Yeah, that's obviously a great point. It definitely feels suspect, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that Roman didn't reach out to Paul off camera, right? Because he wasn't on camera like almost as soon as it happened, right? Something like that. They could have been talking behind the scenes. Before that, leading into it, Paul Heyman was saying Roman hasn't reached out to him, but then Solo was like, well, Roman reached out to me, and we had that whole thing. So if this was Roman's first time trying to reach out to him, then yeah, absolutely. Like it's weird that he wouldn't have done that at all before then. But then, Roman was reeling after the emotional gut punch of a loss of his reign and his family and everything that he lost at WrestleMania. So like you said, it could go a bunch of different ways. It could end a bunch of different ways and then splinter off after the end a bunch of different ways. We're on the ride, baby.
Absolutely. Anybody else have anything else to add before I get to Mr. Tito's other super chat?
Nope.
All right. Well, I will just answer this first, and then if anybody else wants to chime in, feel free to. Mr. Tito says, thoughts on Linda McMahon as the Secretary of Education? I am indifferent. I'm apolitical. I don't care. Good for her, I guess. Virtue, you're more political than I am. Any thoughts on this, good or bad?
I don't have a problem with it.
No, I mean, whatever.
Whoever, no matter who's in positions and offices, even if it's not the choices I have, I give them a chance.
Fair enough. All right.
That's all you got to do. Just hope for the best with whatever's happening.
Yeah, I mean, good for her. That's all I got to say about it. Thank you, Mr. Tito. But it's going to be hard to get us to break into politics here because we're just not really going to stir the pot with that. It is what it is.
Isn't being a wrestling fan enough politics? Like this side and that side anyway?
Absolutely. There's already enough tribalism and back and forth name calling and insults. We got all that in the world of wrestling. We don't need more of that.
Wrestling's our escape from everything going on outside.
Yes, wrestling's where we talk and get angry with each other. We don't need to go beyond that. All right. So, Connecticut Board of Education, she was on it. So I don't know anything about it. So I cannot give an informed opinion on it, Mr. Tito. That's about as effective as asking me a question about sports. I'll be like, whatever. All right. Virtue, on that note, let's go ahead and get to the plugs.
All right. Well, another great show, and we're at an hour. So let's see if we can get out of here. Jeff, go ahead. Do yours. Usually the longest plugs. So.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say with everything coming to LA, tickets make really good Christmas and birthday gifts, but you also want to pay me with cash, as Bobby Heenan used to say. So hit me up if you want to see some coverage of Raw, Netflix, UFC 311, or Revolution coming up here in LA next year. And of course, you can find me on the socials at _Jeff Meacham on Twix, on that Blue Sky thing, and on Instagram, and Jeff Meacham on Facebook. And
all right,
there you go.
There is. Thank you, Jeff. JJ.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me back, Virtue. Of course, you can follow me and everybody else associated with the Simply Reliable Studios on YouTube at those YouTube channels. The only reliable SRS in professional wrestling. Those of you guys that are fans of NXT, we have a live watch along of tonight's episode. going on right now. Walter and Noah are there, and as soon as we sign off, I will be joining them. It's Do or Die for Chase University, the esteemed university. So join us and see our live reactions to that match and everything else going on tonight.
All right. Thank you, JJ. Okay, Gino.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. I'm happy to be reliable for you guys. If you guys are trying to catch more of the content that I make, find me on YouTube, Papagino0017, and any of the socials. Great topics. Great job. Thank you, chat, for being here. Thanks for all the super chats, and love being associated with NoDQ.
Thank you. All right, Aaron.
All right, just stay tuned to NoDQ.com for all the latest wrestling news and rumors. And Psycho Jet Black is back with one more super chat for us. Thoughts on the 90s TV show Saved by the Bell? Never saw it.
Okay.
People tell me I look like the guy with the afro, Screech or Squeak or whatever his name is. So that was tough to escape.
The original was good. Everything else hit or miss.
The college years was good.
I didn't realize it was so short. It was only like 4 seasons. Like not the college years, just
Yeah.
the original. Like it felt like it
Yeah.
had hundreds and hundreds of episodes, and it probably only
Well,
had like 80.
Syndication was its friend because it aired in first run on Saturday mornings, and then those kids graduated from high school. Then they had the new class, and they had the college year, and they had all the other and then that awful reboot Peacock did. Good Lord, was that bad? But yeah, the original show, those first 3 or 4 seasons, solid.
Oofman Entertainment, shout out to Oof, sent in a $10 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, looking forward to the Full Gear prediction show on Thursday. He's going to Full Gear, and he asked to be on predictions. Now,
Oh, nice.
I need
That's
a panel.
why he did that, promoting himself. I'll give him props. For
Hey,
I need a panel because I asked the No DQ group in dead silence. I mean, I can't even get
Seriously?
people on the predictions panels anymore for AEW shows. That's how.
What time on
disinterested
Thursday?
I should be able to do that. I didn't see it in the chat. My
8
bad.
p.m. Eastern.
I'll be there.
All right,
be
so
there.
we got a panel. Oofman will be there. He might have been on 1 or 2 streams, I think, a couple years ago. I met him.
Yeah.
I met him in 2019. Very nice guy. So we're gonna get him on. He's going to Full Gear, and I guess Gino and Jeff will be on.
And then we're doing Survivor Series on Sunday, yeah?
Yeah, Survivor Series predictions. So plugs for that. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, will be Full Gear predictions, and then Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern will be the Survivor Series predictions. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Thank you again, Oofman. We'll see you on Thursday night. He also says Saved by the Bell equals ratings. And here we go. Psycho Jet Black says, are you excited for January 6th? Raw on Netflix. I see what you
Yes.
got.
Well, yeah, I hope something big with The Rock happens and Cody. Let's move this along. Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be in Los Angeles, so why not have
Please
The
don't
Rock be in
buffer.
Hollywood? My God. Oh,
Please
Maybe
don't
Chris
buffer.
Jericho's
That's all.
wife can make a cameo on the Netflix premiere.
yes.
Just saying, it'd be interesting.
I mean,
That's why I want to go live, so I'm worried about the buffering.
We don't talk politics or stuff, but numbers are weird. And that
Yes.
whole scene on January 6th, 2020 or 2021, whenever it was just
Yeah.
weird. But
It was weird.
what happened to 10 million popular votes? I don't know. It's weird. But like I said, that's why I'm a numbers guy though. That's what
Yes.
That's
bothers
why
me.
we need
Not where they
Cyber
went, but like
Sunday
I
back.
want to see them. Like there was 2 independent candidates for president this year. Their votes didn't even add up to 1 million people. So I'm pulling my hair out trying to figure all this stuff out. And I gave up.
Well, that's
I
why
gave
we
up.
need
I gave
Cyber
up.
Sunday back so they can do an angle like where the voting is rigged and they can make a big deal out of it. Like that would be entertaining. I miss Cyber Sunday. I want Cyber Sunday to be brought back. So yeah. Oh, and Mr.
Just
T
like where
said,
did 500,000 Dynamite fans go? Where did they go?
I would pull my I pull my hair out about virtue, but Aaron's already lost me my hair for the last 20 years. So that's
See, Jeff, I do talk political satire. That's what I was doing right
No,
now.
I know.
You know, SNL, we see it on SNL and other comedians and stuff. Like, so when I bring politics, it's always in like a satire, like, just like, I don't care. I'm laughing about it all. Both sides.
You almost have to. Have to. See people going crazy. And Dana Carvey made a hell of a President Biden that last part.
I like
He
Jim
was
Carrey's
brilliant.
4 years ago. He was pretty good when he. Remember
Jim's was
Jim
good.
Carrey
Jim's
did-
was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron.
Psycho Jet Black said January 6th is more popular than AEW.
January 6th,
The dude with
Netflix
the-
debut of Raw. That. was
Now,
what
see,
we're talking
that's what,
about.
if John Moxley wants some credibility as a bad guy, like, he needs to, like, have an insurrection at Tony Khan's mansion or something, or at the Jacksonville Stadium. Like, they need to show up with John Moxley's Death Riders logo, and they need to, like, just invade the headquarters of AEW and raise hell.
The dude with the antlers and the red face paint is a more compelling character than anybody in AEW right now. For real.
There you go. Like, if they want to get me hooked, have the Death Riders show up, like, set things on fire at Tony Khan's office, and then Tony Khan.
Not the White House, folks. Please don't do that.
No, I'm talking
Tony's
about,
house, yes.
I mean, hell, they had Hangman Adam Page burn down Swerve's house.
Right?
So why can't we have them go to the Jacksonville Jaguars headquarters, in their truck? They can even paint it the colors of the Death Riders, have their
Oh
flag,
my God.
set things on fire, throw rocks and stuff, and just go crazy. And then Tony Khan has to bring in, like, some real star power to handle the Death Riders instead of Orange Cassidy and Daniel Garcia. How about that?
All we are saying is
Or you
give
could
Steve
have
a
him-
chance.
You could have him crash Khan's booth in the Jaguar Stadium during the game. And then it's like,
that'd be
what?
so good.
That, I mean, they're not going to do that, but I mean,
No.
you could. He's a pretty fun guy. I actually had the box right next to him at the Jaguars Patriots playoff game, and really good, really cool guy. So you never know.
Yeah.
But that would be something to get me to tune in that Wednesday. That's for damn sure.
Psycho
Especially if it's
Jet
like a
Black,
Monday night.
Here we go.
He's keeping us after dark here.
Here it
Some
is.
comments.
It's showtime, folks.
Psycho Jet Black says, seriously, January 6th is his birthday. Yeah, well, if it is, in fact, your birthday, then we'll wish you happy birthday, or I will on the Monday Night Raw recap. So thank you, Psycho Jet
We'll do it
Black,
during the
for
coverage.
super chats.
There you go.
Appreciate it very much. And I think we've covered everything tonight. It was a fun one, guys, and we'll be back next Tuesday night.
There we go. Follow me on x.com if you dare. That's right. X.com. I still am there at NoDQ_.
When are you getting on Blue Sky?
Never. I don't. Yeah, I mean, they've had other apps and stuff, and they've all fizzled out. So I don't even do Insta.
New visitors a day. That's a million people a day you could be trolling.
I don't even do Instagram, and that's like the biggest. Anyways, go to nodq.com/merch. And that is it for Aaron, for Gino, for JJ, for Jeff, and the whole NoDQ crew and galaxy. Thank you for watching. We will be back next week. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good night. Godspeed.